This episode is brought to you by Progressive Insurance. You chose to hit play on this podcast today. Smart choice. Make another smart choice with Auto Quote Explorer to compare rates from multiple car insurance companies all at once. Try it at progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Not available in all states or situations. Prices vary based on how you buy.
Welcome to the No Guilt Mom podcast. I'm your host, Joanne Crone. And oh my gosh, I have such the episode for you. We're going to talk about why you still yell, even though you know better and you don't want to. So before we get into the episode, I have a quick favor to ask of you. Can you please leave a review of this podcast, either on Apple Podcasts or on Spotify, wherever you listen? When you review it, those platforms push it out to more people. It is such an impactful thing you can do to help this podcast reach other moms. And I would so appreciate it. Okay, let's do this, because with yelling, with keeping your calm around your kids, you know the tools. You've read the books, you've saved the Instagram posts, and you promised yourself it won't happen again. But then your kid does that thing and you hear your own voice louder than you meant. And that wave of shame that we all experience just rolls right in behind it. And you think, what is wrong with me? Why can't I keep it together? It must be something that I don't have that other people have. And I am here to tell you that there is nothing wrong with you. But something is happening that no parenting book or no little short reel on Instagram really explains. This is not a knowledge problem. This is not a willpower problem. It is a meaning problem. You're assigning meaning in the moment, and that meaning is what fires the reaction. So in this episode, we're going to talk about why moms yell even when they have all the tools and all of that knowledge, what you're maybe making your child's behavior mean, but might not be conscious of it, and how to create that space before you react. And by the end of this episode, you'll understand exactly why your reactions feel so automatic. And I'm also going to give you one powerful tool to help you stay calm in the moment. And it is not breathing. It is not breathing. Okay? So stay with me. Let's get on with the show. We've been sold this idea that in order to stay calm, we need more information, right? Learn one more strategy, read one more chapter, and the yelling will stop. It's like we feel like there is some strategy out there eluding us. And if we could just find it, we'll know exactly what to do next, right? This podcast is airing right after the big No Guilt Mom, Happy Mom Summit. And in that summit, there was a lot of information and a lot of great knowledge and a lot of great people presented who are absolute experts in the field. And right now, you may be stuffed to the brim with knowledge if you attended the summit. And yet, maybe you yelled again this morning when your kid's cereal bowl was knocked off the table. Or maybe you lost it when your toddler just screamed at you because they were overtired. And I want to tell you that this isn't about you not trying hard enough, because you are doing all the things. And I want to share with you a story from my own life, because I wrote a book about this, The Best Mom is a Happy Mom, that just came out this year. Go get it on Amazon. If you don't have it already, I'll put a link in the show notes. I have a podcast where I have been talking with experts and psychologists and coaches for the past 5 years. I know the research behind it, and yet I mess up myself on this. I mean, there was a very, very memorable moment when my kids were just fighting with each other. And it was right during that witching hour before dinner, after school. They were screaming back and forth I mean, my daughter was saying that it's no fair. I give my son special treatment and no one gave her special treatment when she was younger. And my son was mad at my daughter for being rude to him and being kind of nasty to him. And both of them were looking at me as if I was the one who caused all this. Like, do you ever feel like that when you're in fights? Like when you have fights, seeing fights between your kids and they're going back and forth and they're like, Mom, it's not fair. Why do you do this? Why do you do that? Oh my gosh, it is maddening. And this has been going on all afternoon. And it had been going on more than all afternoon. It was a repetitive pattern every night that I was just growing so frustrated by. And to top it all off, I felt completely alone in that moment because my husband was at work and he was also not contributing to that situation by losing track of time at work and then coming home later and later. So it was me all alone, 2 kids blaming me for something I really had no control over and something that was completely unjustified because they're children. I don't expect them to make logical sense, but still it hurts. I went to the corner of my kitchen and I just screamed at the wall. Like in my body, I could feel that reaction happening. You know, the tightness along both sides of my torso. My head starts to pound. Like I feel that raise in blood pressure. And it's either I cry and collapse in a corner or I scream at the wall. And in this instance, I screamed at the wall. That overwhelm had nowhere else to go. And after I calmed down, I also became really ashamed of my behavior because my kids were in the house. They heard me scream. It scared them. And I thought to myself, I teach this stuff. Like, what is happening right now? And I want to tell you that knowing better doesn't mean doing better, not automatically. It's like what we were told as kids. Oh, you should know better than that. Yeah, we do know better than that. But what your body does and what your body reacts to doesn't always connect with your brain in real time. Not without understanding what's running underneath the reaction. And I have to tell you that you should know better comment. It comes with a lot of shame, which does nothing to calm down our intense reactions and yelling. It probably does nothing to you if somebody's like, oh, you should know better not to yell at kids. You automatically feel like shame and guilt, which honestly is going to make you even more likely to yell at kids in the future, right? So it's not about more willpower. It's not about waking up earlier or trying harder. It is the meaning you assign in the moment before the reaction fires. And it is so tricky to figure out that meaning because it happens in like a split second. Like split second. We have no idea how the thought process goes unless we take a step back and we intentionally examine it. So I have shared this story before on the podcast, and I also share it in my book, The Best Mom is a Happy Mom, where like 3 or 4 years ago, my sister came to visit for the weekend. And looking back at the situation, tension was building the whole time. And I could now see afterwards when tension's building, I'm working on catching it more in the moment, but you could tell in people's abrupt tone, the tone where it's like, okay, you are thinking something right now that isn't being said. And I am learning how to identify my own tone and my own body reactions of when I'm thinking something that I believe I shouldn't say because it's going to create the biggest emotional reaction in the other person. And my tone stiffens and I start becoming abrupt and using really clipped sentences. Like I'm like, okay, let's move on. And that's how my tone goes. You could tell. You could tell something is going on. But I was talking with my sister about basically all these ways I thought she should be living her life. I know what I was doing now. And it is a habit that as an older sister, I'm 7 years older than my sister. as an older sister, I work every day now to repair because I take responsibility over that one. But I was confident that, my way was right. My sister had no idea what she was doing. And I thought I was being kind about it. But even that thought process right there was really upsetting to her, understandably. And the defining moment of that whole story was we were in the kitchen and my sister was giving my daughter some advice. And all I said was, that's not helpful right now in this moment. And oh my gosh, what happened next changed my sister and my complete relationship. And I'll tell you all about it right after this.
Okay, real talk. I have approximately 47,000 photos on my phone. I wish I was joking. And every year I tell myself, this is the year I'm going to do something with all of these memories. And then I don't. Because who has time to sit there arranging photos into layouts for hours? Well, I finally did it. And I need to tell you about Journey Print because it was honestly so much easier than I expected. Here is what blew my mind. Their AI auto arranges your photos into this beautiful book in seconds. You upload your pictures from your phone and their smart algorithm organizes everything by date and location. It even adds maps. So my book isn't just random photos. It's actually the story of our year. I made this year in review book and flipping through it with my kids, seeing our trip to Paris last year, the first day of school where my daughter's a senior, and even just silly everyday moments, it hit me how fast this year went. And now we have this gorgeous, gorgeous book to hold on to because the quality is premium, like really nice satin paper. And they plant a tree for every order, which I love. Creating it took me maybe 15 minutes. That's it. No joke. Go to journeyapp.com/podcast/NGM and use code NOGUILT to get 30% off your next purchase. That's Journey spelled JOURNIAPP.com/podcast/NGM and use code NOGUILT at checkout.
1 second, you're finally cleaning out the gutters. The next, the fire alarm blares from inside. Smoke billows out the kitchen window. These are the wake-up calls that happen daily. In 1 second, everything can change. ADT knows that nobody wants to feel unsafe or unprepared for an emergency, especially in their own home. That's why they offer affordable DIY security systems you can set up yourself and monitor from virtually anywhere with the ADT Plus app. They're customizable so you can set up the system that works best for you and keep an eye on it in real time. And ADT security technology is designed for peace of mind by making it easier for first responders to identify your house. They have the most company-operated monitoring centers in the industry, which means you'll get the alerts that matter for you and your home. You tackle that to-do list, ADT will help make sure your home's protected. When every second counts, count on ADT. Visit ADT.com to learn more.
This podcast is supported by MIDI Health. Are you in midlife? Feeling dismissed, unheard, or just plain tired of the old healthcare system? You're not alone. In fact, even today, 75% of women seeking care for menopause and perimenopause issues are left entirely untreated. But it's time for a change. It's time for MIDI. MIDI's not just a healthcare provider. It's a women's telehealth clinic founded and supported by world-class leaders in women's health. Their clinicians provide one-on-one, face-to-face consultations where they truly listen to your unique needs. They offer a full range of holistic, data-driven solutions that isn't one-size-fits-all care. This is care uniquely tailored for you. At MIDI, you will find that their mission is clear: to help all women thrive in midlife, giving them access to the healthcare they deserve. Because they believe midlife isn't the middle at all. It is the beginning of your second act. Ready to feel your best and write your second act script? Visit joinmidi.com today to book your personalized, insurance-covered virtual visit. That's joinmidi.com. MIDI, the care women deserve.
So there we were in the kitchen, and I had just told my sister that the advice she gave my daughter was not helpful in the moment. My sister lost all the composure. All of the holding back of stuff she wanted to say completely disappeared. And she's like, that's it. I am leaving. And I saw it as this huge overblown thing. That's what I saw it as a time. I'm like, well, this is a big reaction. Not knowing, not realizing that tension had been building the entire weekend. And so I wanted to let her cool down. I wanted to let myself cool down. Guys, I didn't give enough time for either of those things. You're like, you're in the moment. You're like, okay, let's cool down. Let's think about it. And you give yourself like 5 minutes. And 5 minutes isn't enough time. When you are very, very upset, sometimes you need days, not just hours. And giving yourself that cool down for days in a tense situation is fine. But a lot of us don't think that we're allowed to take that much time. Here's what happens when you don't take that time to cool down. I gave her 5 minutes. And then I stormed over to her room and we started fighting and bickering back and forth and back and forth. And she said some things like, you make me feel inferior, Joanne. To which I responded, no one can make you feel anything. Everybody's responsible for their own emotions. Yeah, I pull that out when I'm mad. I pull out all the stuff that I teach, but not in a very nice way. I admit that. You got to laugh at yourself, right? Then she said something that got to my core as a person. She's like, if you want to tell people what to do with their emotions, why don't you go and become a doctor and get a higher degree? And I had a lot of insecurity at the time about talking about this stuff and talking about emotional intelligence that hit me deep. I said, F you! Except I didn't say F. I'm trying to keep this episode non-explicit. I slammed the door to the guest room and then I marched over to my front door, opened that front door and started stomping down the street barefoot. Until I realized what I was doing and that it was my own house. And then I stomped back and I yelled at her some more. She left the house and she didn't speak to me for 3 months. Now, right after she left, I started crying because I realized what I had done in that situation. I realized that I didn't realize the full extent of what had happened, but I did know that I did not control my emotions in that moment. I let them all come out yelling, and I was really ashamed of that. I was ashamed of my behavior. And I wasn't responding to what was actually happening in the situation. I was responding to these beliefs of myself being inferior, first of all, in one area of my life. And I was responding to what I believed about that. It was the doctor comment that got me all fired up. And I hated that. I hated that. I hated how I did that. And it's not like I went through that scenario and now I'm like, oh, I never do that again. No, it happens still. If you get me really mad and you hit me where it hurts, I will take action and do things rather abruptly just to hurt the other person. And I get this. But in that moment, when I had that reaction, when I said F you, I wasn't processing in my brain all those things. I wasn't processing, oh my gosh, like she hit me where it hurts. No, I just reacted. I reacted to save myself. I felt that that was such a huge insult at the time because of the meaning that I put on the situation. I put on the situation that, oh my gosh, like I don't even have the knowledge to be in this argument right now. I'm dumb. That's it. That is completely it. I'm stupid. I'm done. I don't know enough. And that insinuation hurts me to my core. And that's the gap. It's not the knowledge. I had all the knowledge about what I should do during that. I had all the knowledge that I should pause, but the meaning that I put on her comment, that was the thing that got me fired up. And it's the same thing that happens for moms with kids. It's never just about the shoes or the mess or the back talk. There is always a meaning lying underneath all of those situations. So let's talk about some of these common meanings. And while you listen to this, I want you to put a little mental check mark in your mind if you've thought this before too. So some common meanings that moms assign to things that make them blow up, things that make them yell, is they don't respect me, which is huge. Nobody listens to me. That like hits you at your core too. That really devalues you as a person when you have that meaning as something. I'm doing this all alone. When you feel the weight of responsibility on you and no one is in your corner backing you up, yeah, you would act like some kind of cornered animal and yell and react and protect yourself. I mean, that makes total sense, right? Or I'm a bad mom. I'm failing at this. I'm a failure. I'm a failure. You know, I was just on a podcast. It was Jolenta Greenberg's podcast called The Hot Mess Masterpiece Theater, where every week she takes a scene from reality TV and dissects it with a guest. And I came on, and the scene we dissected was from The Real Housewives of New Jersey. If anyone's watched that show, I loved it back in the day. It was season 1. The end episode, the finale, where Teresa flips the table in the Italian restaurant. She gets so mad and so riled up. And when I went to dissect that scene with Jolenta, Teresa got triggered by one thing in particular. It was that they don't respect me, because right before that incident happened, one of the other housewives, Danielle, she turned to Teresa. After Teresa asked a question of what was going on, she said, "Teresa, keep up." And you could see just that meaning made in Teresa's eyes. The fury, the like automatic freezing, and then the, "How dare you!" and flipping the table across the room, because we make meaning of things that are so much deeper than the actual thing in front of us. And it hits us right there deep. Let's talk about this I'm alone pattern, for instance, because this last one, it shows up a lot for moms. We were just talking about it today in the No Guilt Mom Inner Circle, this feeling of being alone and being the one alone to take up all the responsibility in the house, responsibility for keeping everything clean, responsibility for making all the appointments, for scheduling all the tasks. And it's this I'm alone pattern that makes us so sad and so resentful. I mean, if you think about it yourself, when you're running on empty and no one has noticed you or helped you or said thank you for what you have done, and that's when your kid's behavior stops being just a behavior. It is this whole bigger thing that you're dealing with. It almost becomes confirmation of something you're already thinking is true. When your kid goes by and doesn't say goodbye to you when they leave the house, it like confirms the thought you had that they don't respect me. I'm all alone in this. Or when your husband comes home and you have dinner there and he doesn't thank you, that confirms what you've been thinking. I'm all alone. So it's not just about their behavior. It's the meaning that you're assigning to it in the situation. And the question that really, really helps dig all this out is this true? Am I actually alone in the situation? Or can this person's behavior mean something else? For instance, your child leaving the house without saying goodbye. Could it mean that they have something else that's on their mind and they're so preoccupied with it that they just forgot? Could it mean that they are worried about missing the bus? And so at the last minute, when they see that bus drive up across the street, they're out the door and they forgot to say goodbye? Could it mean when your husband comes home and dinner's done and he doesn't thank you, that he is going through his entire day in his mind and it hasn't even come up as a thought to thank you? Now, is that excusable? Is that saying I should just give him some leeway? No, it is not. What I'm saying, though, is that there might be a possible intention other than what you are feeling at that time. And it is worth bringing up in conversation. Some of the I'm alone conversation, it could start with something simple as, hey, when you came in and I had dinner prepared, it looked to me like you didn't notice it. And I saw that you didn't say thank you. And based on that, I felt really alone. And I also felt unappreciated in that instance. To which your husband has a chance to say, oh my gosh, no, I didn't mean to do that. I am so sorry. I had like the worst day at work and I didn't notice. I'm sorry. That would be the respectful response to your bringing up that I feel alone. But I don't think that we give people the chance to do that because we're so scared about their reaction that we don't even bring it up. And we just let the resentment build and the resentment build and the resentment build. So much so that if a new person comes in and has a conflict they want to discuss with us, we blow up at them. And that's exactly what I did once with my sister-in-law. She came to me and said she felt comfortable about how I handled a situation. She was actually talking with her son, my nephew, and I did the teacher thing I do, and I just redirected him based on something that I was seeing. I didn't think of it as anything big, but she came to talk with me about it and just how she felt uncomfortable. And my reaction was not, oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't intend to do that. My reaction was, oh my gosh, nobody appreciates me and I should just go away and hang up the phone. Yes, I did it. I did that. I was an adult when I did that. But I'll tell you what I did next to help repair the situation right after that. I used to think my kids' meltdowns were just about being tired or overstimulated. But here's what I didn't know. 50% of kids suffer from hidden hunger. Even if they're eating, they might not be getting the nutrients their brains actually need to regulate emotions and focus. And listen, if you've got a picky eater who lives on chicken nuggets, I mean, haven't we all had that experience? You're probably dealing with big emotions and meltdowns that feel never ending. That's why I'm obsessed with First Day Daily multivitamins. They're designed specifically to fill those nutrient gaps, and they work for the whole family. I take the women's multivitamin, and honestly, they're so tasty, which really, really matters to me because if a vitamin doesn't taste good, I forget to take it. But First Day, I actually look forward to it. What I also love is how transparent they are. No added sugar, no artificial dyes or crushed bones. Yes, that's a thing. Just 9 essential vitamins and a blend of 12 organic fruits and veggies. It's like sneaking in 1.5 cups of spinach and 5 cups of broccoli into 2 gummies. Plus, they're age specific because a toddler's needs aren't the same as a teen's or yours. For a limited time, our listeners get up to 57% off and a free gift with code NGM at firstday.com. That's up to 57% off with code NGM at firstday.com. And please tell them No Guilt Mom sent you. You know what's interesting about tax season? It's one of the only times most people actually stop and look at their full financial picture. Earnings, spending, savings, all of it. And honestly, it made me realize I wanted that kind of clarity year round, not just once a year when the IRS makes me do it. Instead of just looking back and cringing, I'm now looking forward and I'm making moves. And for a mom who's trying to plan for kids' activities, save for a family vacation, and not completely ignore retirement, that clarity is everything. That's where Monarch comes in. I'm not just tracking spending and feeling bad. I'm actually hitting milestones. And when that tax refund hits, I know exactly where it's going to make the biggest difference for my family. Simplify your finances with Monarch. Monarch is the all-in-one personal finance tool designed to make your life easier. It brings your entire financial life, budgeting, accounts, and investments, net worth, and future planning together in one dashboard on your phone or laptop. Feel aware and in control of your finances this tax season and get 50% off your Monarch subscription with code NOGUILT. Achieve your financial goals for good with Monarch, the all-in-one tool that makes money management simple. Use code NOGUILT at monarch.com for half off your first year. That's 50% off at monarch.com, Code no guilt. Hey parents, if you're like me, you might see your kids struggling with reading and ask, what's going on? Maybe you're even starting to wonder about dyslexia. You're not alone, and there is a way forward that doesn't involve yet another night of tears over homework and reading. I want to tell you about the Reading Guru. The Reading Guru offers live one-on-one online reading tutoring with Orton Gillingham certified teachers. Orton Gillingham reading tutoring is backed by research. It's the gold standard for helping kids with dyslexia and other reading gaps. The Reading Guru's tutors are master literacy specialists who tailor every lesson to your child's strengths, challenges, and interests. And they don't move on until your child gets it. And because sessions are online, finding time is easy. As a former elementary school teacher, I know how beneficial it is to have kids feel confident in reading, and the Reading Guru makes it so accessible. Whether your kid has been frustrated with reading for years or you're just beginning to worry, this could be the moment that changes everything. With the right help, your kid can become a great reader. Visit readingguru.com to sign up for a free consultation, because every child deserves to crack the reading code. Okay, so there I am. I had just had a full emotional blowout, blaming myself, saying that nobody appreciated me or my knowledge or like what I add to the situation. Guys, it was bad. It was bad. And after a day, I realized what I had done. I really realized, and I got back to her. I texted voice messages actually, because sometimes I like to communicate that way. It gives me a chance to get everything out without feeling that I need to give the other person a turn. Like, it sounds awful, but there are some people who, when you talk to them, they try to immediately console you and interrupt you. And sometimes all you need to do is just get your thinking out first before that happens. So I do that. And what I told her was, I was like, I am so sorry I reacted in that way. There were some other things going on, but that is not an excuse for the reaction that I gave you. When I heard that from you, it just completed the story I was telling myself, that I was too much and acting out of turn. And I'm so sorry. Giving myself that chance to reflect is what made that apology possible. And we were able to continue our relationship. She accepted my apology, and I was given a lot of great information about myself in that moment. Because here's what happens when you have a lot of things that you are stuffing down, that you are not telling others because you're afraid that if you tell them, they either won't react kindly to you, they'll abandon you, you'll create some emotional kind of discomfort, or maybe they'll come back to you and say that you were imagining things and it's not like that at all, which, I mean, I've had happen to me. And so you just stuff it down, you stuff it down, you stuff it down, and it becomes like a garbage bin that, as soon as that garbage bin is compacted enough and everything in there is stuffed down, it eventually explodes. And that is your reaction. Now, we don't want it to explode. And at the beginning of this episode, I said that I was going to give you a really simple and effective tool to help you pause. This is called anchoring, and it is something that I learned very recently in the courses I'm taking to pursue my International Coaching Federation credential. I'm getting credentialed. I want you to have the best coach possible. So I've been going through a lot of training and a lot of practice to get my first credential. It's called the ACC. I need 100 hours of coaching practice. And so to get these 100 hours, we, like other coaches, we coach each other. And one thing that I practiced recently was called anchoring. And what anchoring is it is getting a resourceful emotion, being able to access a resourceful emotion in the moment when you feel something else. So to explain this the best way, you know, when you are just in like this really sad sort of state and you're like, oh my gosh, if only like something would happen to make me happier. If only I could go on vacation, then I would be happier. If only like my boss would recognize what I'm doing, then I would be happier. Well, the human brain actually doesn't work that way because you don't need anything to happen outside of you to access those emotions you want, those happiness emotions. You could actually access them at any time, but you may need a little help doing it. And that's where anchoring comes in. And what anchoring is you go back to a situation, a specific situation where you felt that emotion. So I'm going to guide you through this right now. I'm going to help you through it and do this and see how it works for you. So take a situation where you felt, let's just try happiness right now. Think of it in a specific way. It can't be a general thing. It has to be a place where you felt a lot of happiness. And so as I'm thinking of mine in this moment, I felt a lot of happiness when I achieved my national board certification as a teacher. And then once you think of that specific moment, what were you seeing in that situation? So for example, I could say I was seeing this gold balloon that showed up to my house. I could see the score being like, congratulations, you achieved certification on the computer with the yellow and the blue. I could see my family's faces being really happy for me, like their smiles, their congratulations. Once you have those visuals in, what are you hearing in that? So I could hear those congratulations. I could feel like when you run your fingers down a Mylar balloon, you could feel that little, I could feel that. I could feel the smoothness of the balloon. You may not be able to hear much, and that's okay if you can't. But if you can, bring all those memories of what you hear. Now, if there was a place you felt that in your body, where would that be? So in my body, I just felt like it across my chest and shoulders, like this openness, this expansiveness, this like relaxation almost. And I focused on that. So focus on your feeling, focus on where you might feel it in the body, what it feels like. If there was a color to describe what it feels like, just name that color to yourself. If there was a word to describe what feels like, name that word. I think my word is just like smile, like deep smile. And I see yellow as my color. Okay. So keeping all those feelings in mind, what you felt, where you felt it in your body, that word is, what that color is, keep it all there. Now I want you to take your thumb and take your index finger and you're going to squeeze them together. And as you squeeze them together, I want you to put yourself back in that situation and concentrate on all those feelings that you felt. And you're going to hold your thumb and index finger together. And I'm using my left hand. So if you want to use your left hand, that's great. Just take all those feelings and just squeeze. And you're going to let up when you're at the very, very pinnacle of those feelings. Okay, ready? Here you go. Squeeze it and feel all those feelings. Feel where it is in your body. Feel that color. Feel that word. Just envision it. Okay, let it up. Okay, so now we are going to test how that anchor works. So say you're in a situation and you're feeling really down about where you are. Maybe it's in your career. Maybe it's in parenting. But you're just like saying the worst things to yourself. I'm a failure. This is awful. My kids are fighting again. Like, this is all my fault. I should know how to parent better. Okay, now take that left hand, squeeze that index finger and thumb together. There it is. Do you feel that? Do you feel the feelings coming back that you just anchored to that one motion in your index finger and your thumb? I feel it. I feel that happiness. So that is a quick and simple tool now that you can use when you're in that moment, when you're putting that meaning on a situation. I really want to hear what you think about this. I want to hear if your anchors worked, okay? So please reach out to me either through Instagram at NoGuiltMom, or you could email me hello@noguiltmom.com. Please, please, please let me know. Because I want to end this episode with telling you that you don't yell because you lack discipline. You don't yell because you're a bad mom. You yell because in the moment, you're assigning a meaning to what's happening. And that meaning is pulling a reaction out of you before you have the chance to choose differently. That is not a character flaw. That is a pattern, and patterns can change. So your mission is to use that anchoring to try to take yourself out of that overwhelm before you explode, or just use it anytime you want. Really, it works wonderfully. And until next time, remember, the best mom is a happy mom. Take care of you, and I'll talk with you later.
Close your eyes. Listen to Monday.com. Feel the sensation of an AI work platform. So flexible and intuitive, it feels like it was built just for you. Now open your eyes, go to Monday.com, start for free, and finally breathe.